When you're not trusting someone, you're lying to yourself. You're saying, I know what they're going to do in the future. No, you don't. People can change their mind at any time. You never know what somebody's going to do in the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Robert Genito, my good friend that I've made over the last, 3 years now, Robert? I wanted to ask you some zingers. What is the biggest thing most people get wrong about money and how it's actually made in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, that's a great question. People miss the obvious. How money is made is, one, you have to be lucky to get in a good position, a good time to buy. And really, I think it's impossible to know when is the best time to buy or when is the best time to get into something. You don't know what the momentum looks like in the future, right? So if you're excited about something and passionate about it, you can almost always, I wouldn't say almost always, but I'm saying it because lack of better words. If you're super excited about something, chances are, and your friends don't know about it, chances are they would be excited about it too. And they would understand the message that made you excited about it. So when you hear about something, generally the best time to get in is the moment that you're excited about it, right? Because you didn't hear it from any of your other friends, or how they communicated it was not exciting enough for it to unlock what it meant in your mind and in your heart. So that's the first thing people definitely get wrong. So many people, they wait, right? They go, oh, I'll check it out this weekend or whatever. They're excited enough to say, I'll check it out over the weekend. And this happens all the time. And the second thing that people do get wrong with the whole making money part is not knowing when to exit all of it, exit half of it, or even exit in general. They don't know when. The time to do that is when you've profited, unless you're just not profiting. So you can, maybe that helps you in some accounting way or taxes way, but the time to get out is really any time that you make money. So people often, the biggest problems I see is, one, they'll get too excited. They'll go along with the excitement. So the stuff that's in the news, oh, Paris Hilton just bought Bitcoin or whatever. So the mainstream media, the mainstream Paris Hilton. So people often, they'll be so euphoric about what's going on and so euphoric about their position because maybe they 10x their money, that euphoria almost sedates them into not acting or not having an urgency to act. I feel great, so why do I have an urgency to act? I've 10x'd my money. I've doubled my money. Some people I've 100x'd my money. So this euphoria has them feel quite comfortable instead of thinking to themselves, look, if that 10x gain on your money, 10x is always a big position. If that 10x gain, you got to think to yourself, if you were to lose that tomorrow, how would you feel? And if you feel like, whoa, I spent a whole year's salary on this investment position and I'm 10x up, dude, you better capture those 10 years of your life minus taxes and stuff. So maybe it's 6 years, maybe it's 7, maybe it's 5, whatever. Capture it now. You have 5 years to capture it again. So
the two biggest
feeling
mistakes,
too euphoric.
The two biggest mistakes that I'm hearing so far.
Yeah.
Let me just recap this. Is when someone gets excited about something, they don't jump on it. They should jump on it. Specifically if they haven't heard from their friends this thing, and they're individually excited about it, and they emotionally feel compelled towards it. Try to jump on it. And then the other mistake that people make is that when they make a profit out of the crypto, they stay too long.
And as well, I think that, and I feel that when people are in a position where they've profited much, there might be this feeling of it'll go higher or I'm greedy. But I've also noticed there's this subtle feeling where the person actually doesn't feel worthy of that amount of money anyways. And they're unaware of it. They're unaware that their own feeling unworthy of that amount of money is preventing them from clicking the sell button. That's a really sneaky one that I had long ago. 8 years ago is probably when I became aware of it, but I noticed it's in a lot of people. So if you're wondering if that's in you or if somebody's wondering if that's in them, they've got to think about how they feel when they have money. Do they want to spend it right away? Oh, then you don't actually want money if you want to spend it right away. People don't realize if you want to spend money, you don't want money. Might sound obvious.
You must accumulate the money.
Well, yeah.
The money must be accumulated. Wonderful.
Well, some people spend money because they actually do have an emotion where they don't want it. Some people get stuck in a position where they've got money, but they don't feel safe with it. And just buying a television, they're sitting there at Best Buy or whatever, and they're just, I just don't feel I should spend this. I shouldn't get that television. There's all sorts of emotional issues that come up with money, and it's just fascinating. It's a playground that you can learn a lot about yourself emotionally if you pay attention and stop just honoring your fear, stop just honoring your greed, and just really feel what is influencing me to do this in the first place.
So Robert, I recently put you in a group chat on Telegram with a stranger, a young boy, a young lad. And he's like, dude, I asked him, how much money do you think you're worth an hour? And he said $3,000 an hour. And I was like, pretty astounded. I don't hear those numbers in Ohio very often when I ask employees, right?
True. You hear that very often with people.
Yeah. I assume most people don't think that, right? And I was like, okay, when did you make the most money? He's trading in crypto. And I was like, interesting. So for a young person that would come out, I think my beard here is here. For a young person that would come out and ask you stuff about the crypto industry, about making money in the crypto industry, obviously you want to be a little skeptical, but how would you go about kind of directing them into what aspect of crypto they should be interested in?
Well, I would say you don't want to be skeptical. You want to be excited. If you're skeptical about something, maybe you're missing the excitement, right? But skepticism prevents action. No matter how it is, it's going to prevent action, whether we justify it as a good thing or not. And I think that's really important for people to be aware of that. If you're listening, for example, Ripple, right? XRP, token, coin, whatever. Even though Ripple didn't do anything for 8 years, and during those 8 years, I would say Ripple's a crap product. I would also acknowledge, but they were well-funded. They clearly have their marketing game down, and marketing is powerful. And if they haven't disappeared in 8 years, that doesn't change the fact that something can change and be good for Ripple. Suddenly, all of those people that were told for 8 years, you're stupid, get out of Ripple, suddenly they're euphoric. So the skepticism, right? You really can't listen to it. I'm sorry, it does not help. I've seen it not help so many people. When I was first talking about Bitcoin with people were very skeptical of me. And I was pretty clueless about it, but I caught on a little bit. And I realized from the comment of one person that they were skeptical because they thought I created Bitcoin and I was just trying to sell it to other people, right? Which I didn't catch for that when he said that to me. Later, I was thinking about it and it blew my mind. I'm like, what? But the whole thing was, how could somebody be so passionate about something? They had to have created it. Now, if somebody's passionate about something, as if it's their baby, but it's not their baby, you can be skeptical, but that skepticism is going to cause you to miss a real opportunity, if a real opportunity exists. So just ignore skepticism. I know people think it's good. It's not. I can't think of, well, I think the wealthy people we've met have skepticism, but that's not what really pushed them into the risks that they took.
It's excitement that pushes people into the risks.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Something.
And in the great words of Jim Rohn, everything's risky. You're not going to get out of this life alive. That's for sure. So when you've been around the space for a long time, right? What has actually matured since the early days, and what is still immature?
Love that question. Well, what has matured? I'm thinking to myself, let's talk more about what maturity means, though. Does something come into mind for you what maturity means?
Maturity is experience, a track record, a certain way of acting.
Okay.
But mostly experience.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Can I add to that? Maturity is how many people are aware of it as well.
Track record. Yeah, for sure.
Probably pretty obvious. At Coca-Cola, you can obviously say people are aware of Coca-Cola, but let's start back to Marcus Jefferson. That's a name I made up, by the way.
I was about to say.
So it's easy to be. Marcus Jefferson's going, I exist. So Marcus Jefferson starts with the whole world being aware of Marcus Jefferson. Nobody's aware of it. But the more people who are aware of something, then there's something attractive behind there. There's something that moves people behind there. There's something that can change everybody's life in a positive way behind there. Even Coca-Cola. Some health people are probably listening to this going, Coca-Cola helping people, what the hell? But their business practices, their systems have definitely inspired a lot of people. Their simplicity in business and being an example of how great that can become, that's pretty cool. It's a human creation after all. It's pretty cool what people can create and how it can affect the entire world, right? And we that kind of stuff. So as far as the maturity of these things, I would say awareness. Bitcoin has matured a lot because political people are talking about it more than they were ignoring it. Even in the legal area, it has matured by being aware of it, matured by being aware of how it's useful, and even matured by more people actually using it, more companies holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Last I checked, there was more than 150 public companies holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet, which is a huge deal. You had El Salvador 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I think, saying Bitcoin's going to be considered legal tender in our country. So it has matured greatly.
Legal tender?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
I'm over here looking for a dollar as if I would have that on my desk. Legal tender means...
You of all people.
Legal tender is amazing. Legal tender means, hey, if I owe somebody something or I've harmed someone and something needs to be recouped for that, the legal system has my back to say this thing that is legal tender can be used to resolve that debt. I accidentally, or let's say someone accidentally is just driving crazy and they crash into a cornfield or they crash into some field and they unfortunately kill a prize cow. This cow that cannot be replaced. It's a bull or something. Something about this cow is so special and you can't put a price on it. So then what happens is
someone's livelihood.
A judge or whatever systems that try to help people resolve their differences, they say, well, obviously you can't replace that cow, but we have something called legal tender, which can replace anything. We just got to put a number to it. So the US dollar, for example, is considered legal tender. If you look on a dollar, it says that don't quote me exactly, but it basically says, hey, any debt, this will remove that debt legally.
Okay, so legal tender basically means that if the legal system was a person or a soul, that it would feel bad for something. And so it would feel it needs to, right? Tenderness is like this, you want to be vulnerable, right? There's a sense of if you're being tender with someone, right?
I imagine some lawyers watching this going, just please let me answer. Please let me answer for you guys.
Okay.
Think of legal tender as, think of courts and stuff being, everybody, I'm God and I'm going to resolve your problems. It's not the case, and then the court says, okay, dollars are legal tender. Therefore, you did something bad. You got to give him $1 million. And he says, well, hey, how about I give him $1 million worth of a car? And the judge is, no, that's not going to complete this judgment here. No, it's not a car. It's not
the money.
Your fortunes.
Yeah.
It's whatever it is, get it turned into dollars.
Understood.
Yeah, get it turned into dollars, then give them those dollars, and then we'll consider you have paid for that. Have a nice day. I'm awesome. Bye. Right?
Excellent. Understood. Okay, so what is still immature about the crypto company or cryptocurrencies, crypto industry even?
All right, then we'll say immature is not awareness or not integrated, right? I mean, I think the entire economy itself is immature, really, but it can be better.
Elaborate on that.
Well, before I do, if I may say, Coin, for example, and other cryptos, they are immature in the way where still your average person doesn't understand. Your average person understands, oh, there's something called Venmo. There's something called Cash App. I can download it, press some buttons, and I automatically know how to send money and receive money, send value and receive money. What's immature today is, one, people don't realize that they can just do this for Bitcoin, that they can just download. Are you aware that you can download Cash App and you have a Bitcoin wallet? A Bitcoin wallet?
No, I am now.
Are you aware that you can, when you have a Venmo account, you also have access to money on the blockchain? Nope. So in a way, that awareness is immature. And in another way, there's a problem with money printers or the IRS or the Federal Reserve or legal systems. There's a problem where they're refusing, for political reasons, they're refusing to admit that Bitcoin is money or these other things out there, these other tokens are money. They're refusing to admit that.
Legal tender.
Yeah. And it's politics. And what helped me understand politics, not that I'm claiming to understand it, is that all politics is people ganging up together and supporting one another and not supporting other people. So Bitcoin is money. These blockchain tokens, they are money. There's accounting done for them. And the accounting is what the blockchain does. It's just a big accounting system. That's all. It's a big accounting system that makes sure people's balances are right and that they can be transferred from one person to the other. That's what it is in a simplified, complex way. So it's money. I was talking with an accountant. He owns an accounting firm. He's a CPA. And we were talking about a common problem with blockchain people and accountants, where you will trade some weird crypto that nobody's heard of before. And then now accountants are wondering, okay, what's the value of that? Well, the value is this much wrap staked Ether and this much Bitcoin. And what's the US dollar value of that? Oh, tell me, what exchange? It's like, well, there's 5,000 different exchanges to choose from. They all have their, okay, look, our accounting code says, what exchange that somebody reasonably could have exchanged it for then? Well, this is software doing all of the exchange. What's reasonable is what actually happened, because that's what happened because it could. Okay, what dollar value is that? So look, so this immaturity is the model that people have. When people develop a model of understanding things, it's hard to adapt another model. It's quite hard because the model that you use is an automatic habit where you can just do what you need to do, right? You can brush your teeth, you can do all these things. And suddenly it's, okay, you can only possibly brush your teeth if you explain every action in Spanish. And you're just sitting there, okay, right? It suddenly, your normal thing is so difficult. And you've got to take care of your family. You've got to get to work on time. You're like, dude, I don't want to know this new model. So this model, accountants and stuff, they need to get it out of their head that Bitcoin isn't money. Accountants, CPAs, they want to be compliant because they're a public accountant that the legal system will recognize. So it's difficult. It's difficult. But we will move forward a lot better if we all just say, what? Bitcoin's just money. I have all these alarms on my phone, by the way. Bitcoin's money. And we won't always know how to compare it with the dollar. But if we want to overcomplicate things, we're going to get in our way.
Your camera turned off.
I know my camera just went off.
No. So you're basically saying that accountants need to mature. The philosophy of money, it's so deeply ingrained, dollars or some sort of currency is so deeply ingrained that the legal system, along with everything that it supports, has a very hard time accepting that crypto is just another form of legal tender. I just love that word.
Well, yes. Over the last, I think it was 2014 or 2015, the IRS came out and said, hey, everybody, here's how you're going to put Bitcoin on some form. And that year, only 6 people in the entire United States put down that they owned Bitcoin, which was hilarious because everybody knew way more than 6 people owned Bitcoin in the USA. And so ever since then, for more than 10 years, I've been talking with accountants and talking with lawyers. Not so much lawyers today. They've got it down pretty well. Accountants have gotten it down pretty decently too, probably. But as I talk with them, the biggest light bulb moment for them is me just to remind them, hey, all of the rules that you've learned were designed by a person. That's all. It's not actually how the universe works. So they are rules, therefore, that can change. And they're like, okay, well, what does that have to do with Bitcoin as money? Well, because if you think of it as money, it might not simplify the compliance of being a CPA. It might not simplify your job, but it'll definitely help the model here for you to realize, oh, I can use this. This can make my life easier. This can automate things that could have never been automated before. This can do something awesome. So just willing to accept it's money. Just all the rules that I've learned make it hard to accept.
Oh, okay. That actually answers another question. Phenomenal. Okay, we're gonna go to the next one here. When you look at a new project, what are the first 3 signals? It's for 3 specific signals. Okay, that tell you that this is real versus this is hype.
The signals themselves take time to be validated. So is this real or is this hype? One signal is, does it solve a problem, right? Pretty much anything we come up with can solve a problem. So it then boils down to, can this solve a pain point problem that a lot of people have? That's what Bitcoin did. A lot of people didn't understand the problem, but a lot of family offices, a lot of super rich people, were, if Bitcoin can really do that, it sounds too good to be true, but if Bitcoin can really do that, this is amazing. So the one thing is, humanity wants problems solved. Humanity is demanding more automation and more automatic intelligence be applied to the mundane things that they do. Humanity wants to be unchained from these super mundane things so that they can get back to creating, get back to their creativity. No matter what human being you are, ultimately, you're also a creator.
So let's go and talk about the very, very important things that Robert Genito has to tell the world. Because frankly speaking, my dude, there are very few people that I'm coming across on social media that are talking about crypto at all. But it's probably because I live in a vacuum of people that don't talk about crypto. And I want to make sure to introduce people to this concept because people like me who intend to make some sort of a difference in the world need to understand that there is another economy and there are other levels to do this stuff. The only way to do that is through experts like Robert Genito. So, you said a bunch of shit. When you look at a new project, the first thing you're looking for is whether or not the thing solves a problem. Phenomenal. Impact. You're looking at the impact that it can have. What are the other 2 things?
Second thing is people have to be passionate about it. Sure, if a problem is solved, great. But also, is it a problem that people are passionate about the fact that it's being solved? That's quite important. For example, 250 years ago, 1776, the problem was there's this colony, United States before it was the United States. There's this colony that's ruled by a king and the king's not doing anything about it. The king's not solving problems. The king's just, hi, yeah, I own it. Give me taxes and stuff. And the people were that's a problem because that's not helping us at all. And problems are being ignored. So that's a problem in many other places in the world. Where did the passion come from? The passion came from people writing a short document called the Declaration of Independence. And this short document, I don't know if you realize this, it was written by people in their early 20s.
Is that where the passion came from?
Well, the idea behind it.
The fucking being angry. They're like, fuck these Europeans. We're on this island. Fuck them. We're going to do it better. Isn't that what the passion was?
I hope this is a little better. There you go.
And then they ended up creating essentially this document that was, okay, these are our philosophies and this is how it's different than these fucks. We don't want to be like these fucks. And so they solved this problem of not having rule or control over the destiny.
The passion was transferred to other people from the document. It was something very simple that anyone could read, and it wasn't 100 pages. It was, I don't know, maybe 5 pages.
No one can read it because no one writes cursive?
I mean, have you read the Declaration of Independence?
No.
I decided to read it 3 years ago. And when I read it, I was like, this is badass. I was, holy crap. These guys, I was getting excited. These guys are getting me excited about something 250 years ago. Because you just got to read it. If you haven't read the Declaration of Independence, it's not even 5 pages. If you're bored, then okay, you wasted 1 minute of your life or 10 minutes, whatever. But it's interesting. And it's exciting because the whole idea behind it's exciting. It's like, look, we don't have to do these things just because we were told that. We should be doing the things that are good. But really, the message was, hey, some of us are not happy with laws and regulations. And then it kind of said, but what is a law really? A law is something that never changes in the universe. Okay, these British people want to tell us a law is something else. Well, don't we already have the rights that we're supposed to have as human beings? If we weren't allowed to do something, and these guys are coming from the Some of them are coming from the context of God, and some of them are coming from the context of the laws of the universe. And if we weren't supposed to do something, wouldn't there be something preventing us from doing it? Or wouldn't there be this emotional feeling that it's wrong to do it? So where they got at was, what I want to do, it's fine for me to do that, even though Allah says I should follow this one religion or I need to pay these taxes. So given the pain points that people had, the problems they had, the document, and that's really the third thing that I look for, not a document. Is there passion? Is there passion? Is there a passionate thing that is able to go to another person and have them get it? Because there's been some cryptos I've seen that were really cool, solved really big problems, but it was kind of a problem. Yeah, it's a valuable problem, but nobody really cares about solving that right now. There are bigger problems, or rich people have bigger problems, or whatever it is, or your average person has bigger problems. So the second thing is, okay, is there some sort of passion behind it? Isn't it an exciting message? The third thing is, well, are these people passionate enough to make new materials to help other people get the message and understand the message? Because a lot of people, it's going to have to hit them differently. They're not going to understand the problem the same way. Bitcoin, for example. Bitcoin, for about 3 years, I wasn't around the first year of Bitcoin, 2009. Didn't hear about Bitcoin. But for about the first 3 years, people did not explain Bitcoin how it's explained today. What do you think? How is Bitcoin explained today, Turab?
Bitcoin is money. I mean, you just explained it.
Yeah. Well, at first it wasn't explained by that. There were things before it called hash cash, and it was, oh, this is great. You can use cryptography and all these other things, right? It was technical people talking about it. But there was this metaphor that came up of, guys, Bitcoin is digital gold. People were like, yes, it's digital gold. Oh, digital gold. And other people who were doing what we call Bitcoin mining today, it was called generating coins. In the app that came up for Bitcoin, you literally clicked, I think it was view generate coins. It was something like that. So everybody's, what is this really doing? Or you can't generate coins. So people were curious, but it made no sense. So then with this whole digital gold thing, people were saying you're mining for gold. You got to dig through so much dirt before you actually find the gold. So it takes a lot of effort, a lot of power. What did people say before then? They're like, dude, we're using proof of work. We're basically using SHA-256. We're throwing it in there twice to avoid hash collisions. And then that is securing the record, man. Dude, you make a public-private key elliptical curve cryptography, and only your private key could unlock the code, and anybody can send it to your public key. This made no sense. That metaphor.
So many more people that understand it, right? What you just said there could be a piece of content for you.
Or had to improve, right? And it took about 3 years for that metaphor to improve, and then people were like, sweet. It's money that can't be exchanged. It's digital gold. And then some politician came around and was, damn it, I've got a cocaine addiction problem, and this damn website Silk Road provides me that cocaine. Everybody was like, what? You can buy cocaine online with Bitcoin? And then suddenly it really blew up. Apparently everybody wanted cocaine. Just kidding.
Well, a lot of people want cocaine, that's for sure.
Here, lab rats really, really want it.
Lab rats? I could only imagine. Okay, so basically the top 3 reasons that you would think that something is useful is, well, never mind. If it's legit, if it's, what the hell is the word? Hype. You're going to determine if it has a significant value, meaning it solves a significant problem. You're going to look at whether or not there is passion behind it. Currently, right, on, I assume, a global scale or a large enough scale where there's actual money and interest behind it. And then you're also going to look at whether or not there is documentation that the people that are passionate about it and driving it have created things around it that can actually show its passion and its value. Is that correct?
And when it comes to finding out hype, it's pretty much the opposite of that. That doesn't mean it's not going to be valuable, because as we know, brands are valuable, marketing is valuable. Ripple, for example, doesn't solve a problem. It is hype. You got to remember that just because it's hype doesn't mean it's valuable. But also, just because it's hype, but also if it's hype, it's likely not the most profitable choice, or it's likely not the thing that's going to solve your problem the most. or it's likely not the thing that's going to solve more people's problems and increase in value quicker than the other things. For example, you could have been in Ripple camp saying it's going to come back and you're all going to wish you did this. Meanwhile, even though Ripple came back and maybe you did double your money, maybe you did triple, maybe you did 10 times your money. Pretty sure nobody did that in an 8-year span. But let's just say you still didn't do as great as Bitcoin's 1,000x improvement, or nearly 1,000x improvement. You still didn't do that good. Why? Well, the idea here is the hype thing over time probably won't do as good as the thing that actually solves a problem, a big problem that humanity has. People are passionate about it, and people are making newer and newer materials to help it click in someone else's mind.
These are way more interesting questions. Sorry about bogging you down with crypto fucking currency credibility questions. We're going to go through society and thought leadership questions. That's the shit I'm interested in. So, okay. So I'm just going to put this question in. If blockchain is a source of truth, what parts of society become healthier when truth becomes easier to verify? So if blockchain is a source of truth, what parts of society become healthier when truth becomes easier to verify?
Said that one thing, the truth will set you free.
Go on. Let me see who said that.
I remember who said it. I'm just reminding it.
John 8:30 through 32.
So Jesus of Nazareth said the truth will set you free. I'll say the question simply. Did it have to do with how society benefits when the truth is more available?
Yeah.
I think it's what we want, the truth. At times we don't. Or someone may say in a relationship, if you ever sleep with someone else, don't tell me because I'll kill you, right? They're pretending to not want to know and stuff. Well, even with investor disclosures for companies and public companies, people want to know because it influences their decision, right? And at the same time, people want privacy, right? And the only reason why people want privacy is because they don't want something about them to be weaponized or attacked over it. So what you have, though, is, okay, something that has become very popular over the last 800 years is accounting. CPAs, since we're talking about them. And all accounting is accounting for something, is counting something and verifying it, right? So you remember, oh yeah, how many ducks did I have? Or maybe you remember, just so you can remember. So this truth, so you can remember accurately, right? Because after all, that information is going to influence how you want to do something. So how can we remember, right? So where blockchain comes in, though, is it's an accounting system. It's an accounting system that you can prove it's correct and it wasn't modified. You can prove very quickly. Now we can't prove it very quickly because it takes a lot of calculations. But our computer, whose job is to calculate shit for us, does the calculations. So in a world where things are more transparent, you might have more people standing up for or enforcing what they feel is right. Maybe we can live a better life that we feel is more fair and happier. So truth has a lot to do with it. And I think the whole statement, the truth will set you free, comes from the fact that lies, if you're acting on a lie, you're acting in a way that's really not in harmony or not aligned with what you want to do and where you want to be in life. And that sucks. Is that okay for us to mention that you're a doctor? Imagine, and something like this has actually happened. Imagine you thought you were going to school to do what you needed to do to be recognized by the state as somebody who could practice dentistry, right? Imagine if you found out come graduation time that the school was not accredited for that. You'd be pissed, right? So that whole lie trapped you into something that benefited some company. This happened with a college in Florida called Edison Community College. They lied to their students that they were accredited for the students that were doing a nursing program. And the nurses found out that wasn't true. Their credits didn't matter. And they couldn't sue Edison Community College because they were a state entity. And the judges were basically, oh, that's the state. You can't sue the state. We can do whatever we want. Sorry. So we're going to do an internal investigation instead so you don't get too pissed. We'll figure it out. They all got screwed. So They basically were not free from that. They were not free to make their own choice. They were not free to really push forward in the way that they wanted to or thought they would. So the truth is very important. In relationships, if you love somebody, you will always tell them the truth. Even if it's, do I look fat in this dress? You'll be like, yeah, wear another dress. They're not asking you to lie to them.
So it kind of brings to question or brings under a microscope some of the nuanced aspect of communication and transparency in our society, and how much it is kind of uncomfortable to see these things and to show these things. But at the end of the day, it leads to a much better trust of your fellow human beings and kind of the overall ecosystem. And when there's more trust, there's more progress. Because you can say you tell your significant other that they look fat. Okay, well, maybe them showing up to a party wearing a different dress will actually give them the business proposal that they were looking for, or will allow them to fit into the crowd better, and they might end up having a better experience at that party, right? Or and though you had the difficult conversation up front and you took the L, the reality is your ecosystem is better for it. They'll feel better in the long term for it.
I agree. I have so many examples that I feel would be great, but let's put that into a more tangible kind of a sense, right? This has to do with earlier, we talked about skepticism, how you miss opportunities because of skepticism. Really, I think you could say an opposite of skepticism is, so skepticism is doubt, and the opposite of that could be choosing to trust. Because you don't really feel skeptical. Yeah, you feel it, but ultimately you choose to not trust, to be skeptical. And that prevents a lot of things. Now, on the other hand, you have the power to choose to trust something or to trust someone. You have the power to do that. And what's great about that is I think it's great. I've done this for maybe 8 or 9 or 10 years. I chose to trust, and I could feel how much I didn't trust when I chose that. I chose to trust business mentors I was working with, business people that I was working with. It was 2015, I think. I chose to trust anyways. And man, I got burned here and there. I got screwed. I also went forward greatly on good things. So what I learned is when you choose to trust, a lot of times it's hard, but it boils down to a choice. When you choose to trust, and I'm fascinated with this, when you choose to trust, you end up weeding out the bullshit really quickly. When you choose to trust, you end up finding out very quickly what's not going to work out with someone or something. You find out very fast. Those cards show quite quickly. The manipulation comes quite quickly. The exercise of their positioning comes very quickly. But on the other hand, you also learn what that felt. You learn how to discern people who you can feel them make a bad decision. You don't know the future if they're going to, but you can feel, from what you probably couldn't feel before, you can feel, oh, I might want to put more energy into protection here. I might want to put more energy into systems. Very valuable lesson. I learned so quickly who to trust and what to trust, where I could have spent so much time beating around the bush on something that wasn't going to work out anyways. And this is probably why Warren Buffett was so successful. Warren Buffett is known for making multi-million dollar deals with a handshake. It cuts out all the lawyers. It cuts out all the analysis. There's a book about it called The Speed of Trust. It has a lot of very obvious things in it. Of course I'm not going to do that, right? It has a lot of very obvious things, but it boils down to how trust is ultimately this cost we incur, all the protections we put up just so we can trust something versus just choosing it.
Lovely way to go about living life. And to a major degree, for as long as I've known you, Robert, that's definitely a philosophy of yours that I've carried forward in a lot of ways. And I've given it to other people. So thank you. Thank you for bringing that up again. It's incredibly powerful. I mean, dude, that's one of those things that's fundamental to living a satisfying life, a meaningful life. There's very few other statements that I hear on the regular from people that hit that right on the head, and that's one of those pillars.
No, I'm sure you would agree. When someone doesn't trust you about something, right, that might be completely obvious, that they could trust you. Maybe it's with something with their options to do with their teeth. If somebody can't trust you, you can feel it a lot of the times, and it doesn't feel very good. The only reason why something would not feel good is because there's something wrong somewhere, right? There's something that's not friendly or whatever it is. So the truth, it will set you free, but the quicker you can get to the truth is really you trust, you do what you love, and there's always going to be people that do something against that, and you just learn quickly. You feel it and you can discern it better in the future. If you have to cry about it, that'll take a lot of weight off your chest. Maybe you don't cry and just throw everything off your desk. But there's so many choices you look back on and you're like, man, that was one of the best choices I ever made. For me, crypto has a lot to do with that because I learned a ton about myself unexpectedly. But one of the top 10 choices, if I could even pick one, I'd say, I could be wrong, but I'd say, choosing, maybe it's top 5, choosing just to trust anyways. That's great. It's the best move to make. Because when you're trusting someone, when you're not trusting someone, you're lying to yourself. You're saying, I know what they're going to do in the future. No, you don't. People can change their mind at any time. You never know what somebody's going to do in the future. You don't even know what you can do in the future because you have the right to change your mind. And this is true because it happens, because we do have a right to change our mind. No matter what coercion other people have or what guilt tactics or whatever contracts exist, we still have a right to change our mind. So we can't trick ourselves and say that we don't trust someone. We don't truly know what's going to happen in the future. We might be able to feel the potential.
Incredibly emotionally vulnerable. I mean, you've been through a tremendous amount of trauma emotionally in life, right? From childhood all the way up to probably all of the business stuff that you've gone through,
all the way to trusting someone who has done things where people would be, oh, why didn't you see those red flags? But what I learned from it and stuff is incredible.
And so the viewers, they might think to themselves, well, shit, you're just dumb, right? You haven't been through anything, right? But the reality is, it really does take a smart and soulful person to have that vulnerability in life. It's not, these words aren't coming through a lack of pain. And I think from the surface level, it can seem that, which is, again, it's always deeper, guys. For anyone that's watching, it's always deeper than the tip of the iceberg when it comes to advice. Most of the people that end up smiling and laughing about these things they usually tell you the truth. So I want to hop to some more of these questions here, just because we can talk about a lot of different things, but that's what ends up happening in our conversations. We talk about a lot of different things. So I want to keep it a little bit more on the nose here. And by the way, I actually saw a really interesting podcast recently from Tony Robbins and Alex Hormozi. I'll send it to you. I think I might have sent it to you, actually. Tony Robbins was talking about the power of words. And as you were saying that word, skeptic, right? Just think about the phonetics of that word, and think about the connotations of that word. I don't like that word. I don't think I'm going to use it very much in my life, but I don't think I'm going to allow it to have any power over me whatsoever. It's one of those. It doesn't hit me the right way. What do you think about it?
It doesn't feel good,
right? Nothing about that word it's very sharp.
Always be skeptical. Even the idea of it doesn't feel right. But someone else may be too numb to feel it, right? So what will get them to that point? Development, maturing. If you can't feel how harmful the word skeptical is, you might want to unnumb yourself any way possible. You might want to take some time to listen a little bit more. Something I'm still working on. You might want to just let yourself feel and not let your reacting invalidate push away that feeling. Because these emotion stuff, really, they're wireless information. It's a faster source of learning things, which is overwhelming.
Says smiling. Lol, this guy.
Oh yeah, I just think about the overwhelming times I've had, and they're funny now and cute.
To my point, right? The people that laugh and smile about these things talk about pain, man. So, all right. So, I'm just reading the first line here, but this seems interesting. What do you think happens to the power when artificial intelligence gets stronger at persuasion And how should normal people defend their agency?
If you feel you've got to defend it, then you do feel it might be greater than you. I don't know. I don't know the answer. One thing that I feel quite strong about, though, is that a human being, it's not possible for the thing to create something better than the thing itself. For example, can a rabbit create a better rabbit? Can a human being create a human being? There's been lots of attempts, and we see robots and stuff. We're like, wow, that robot can walk and stuff. And then what they're hiding from you is, it took 100 takes. It took 4 hours to get that shot. You don't want to know how many times that robot fell over. Of course, they're better today. So I think it's quite logical that a human being cannot create a human being. Sure, they can create leverage and amplify their abilities. Okay. It's kind of the idea of, can God create a better God for those God people? Can the universe create a better universe? Okay, maybe it can improve, but it's still that same universe. It's not some separate one. You as a person, you can improve yourself all the time. You didn't really make a separate you that was better. So therefore, artificial intelligence, I'm quite convinced that humanity cannot create an artificial intelligence that is better than them. The best they can do is create an AI that amplifies their abilities. Even with predicting the future, right? AI and math and all these things, the whole point is to predict the future. But there's only one reason why we cannot predict the future. There's only one. There's only one single reason why we cannot predict the future, even if we know all the laws of the universe. What's that reason, Turab? It's very obvious when you know it. Yeah, what is the one single reason people cannot predict the future?
Don't have the ability.
We can predict, okay, this plane won't crash as long as these parameters are met, right? We can predict the ball when we drop it from here, it's going to hit that point at 7.7 whatever. And 7 point whatever seconds. And hey, we took into account the wind drag. We took into account the humidity levels. I mean, we took into account the exact wind at the exact time because there's, right? No matter how many parameters you do, ultimately, we cannot predict the future because the future is actually created by people, and people have free will. The thing that you cannot predict, because you always have the right to change your mind. That's literally the only reason. People will say, oh, well, there's some of these labs where we know somebody's decision before they make it. Yeah, okay. Are you sure about that? Sure you're not maybe measuring the thing that is influencing them and that they still could change their mind? Well, you're right. We're only able to actually guess it 62% of the time, but that's amazing. That's more than 50. Yeah, so
you still can't round that up to 100%.
Yeah.
Well, so, okay. So basically what you're saying is when it comes to AI and its ability to, we're going to have all this video processing going into artificial intelligence use. We're going to have all these people kind of existing in these Roblox, and music and stuff is going to change, and visuals are going to change. And it's still fairly easy for people, myself at least, to identify, okay, this is an AI human versus a normal human, right? It will evolve over time. And it may get to the point where, sure, if someone isn't aware of these things, that they will be easier to fool. But over time, we'll also get better at diagnosing that and really figuring out the nuances of it.
The biggest problem here is impersonation. Over the last at least 3 to 4 years, banks have been having the hardest time with impersonation, deep fakes, etc. I think it was only 3 years ago. Don't quote me on this, but on the actual specifics. But some scammers used live deep fakes to convince a company that they were one of the directors of an exchange, and it was $200,000 or $300,000 that they ended up taking from them by fooling them. So that goes back to, what is our source of truth? If you can deepfake somebody, or if you can AI something, that AI and that deepfake doesn't have access to something that cryptocurrencies and blockchains do. What they do is the transactions, the only way they know it's from you or it's from this account is because we're trusting that only one person has access to some information that only they could have access to. What it means is, if the AI doesn't have access to it, then the AI cannot impersonate you. If the person who's deepfaking you completely, or deepfaking me, if they're deepfaking me, I can always say, hey, there's this address on the blockchain that I've been quite public about for a while, maybe 8 years, 6 years, telling people it's my address. And there's even an NFT on there called Robert Genito. I remember somebody was analyzing it and they're going, I found his account. Yeah, I made it very obvious that it was my account. You're missing the part where I have an NFT that says Robert Genito, by the way. Because it's fun. But impersonating wise, there was an AI impersonating me. Somebody could just say, hey, I think you're an AI, Robert. I know one of your blockchain accounts. You've had it for years. To prove that you are who you say you are, go ahead and send a millionth of a penny's worth of Ethereum to yourself or to something. Sure, I'll do that right now. Maybe at most 30 seconds later. Maybe a little longer because I don't have it on my computer. But I can send that and I can say, see, did it? AI can't do that unless it has access to that private data you have. An impersonator can't do that unless they have access to that private data you have. So this is a solution for banks. It's a solution for the fact that our whole world is becoming impersonated. People are just going to have to submit to the thing they don't trust, which is blockchain, which is Bitcoin. They don't trust it. Oh no, that's the cabal. Okay. If the cabal gave you a car, would you not take it? Somebody who needs a car, by the way. So hope that makes sense.
It absolutely does make sense. And thank you for that, Robert. That's a very, that's super, super important. That's going to be massively important in the next 10 years, probably. What is one practical change you want to see in how young people think about work, responsibility, and building a life? Well, okay, that's just a bad question. Let's go with work first. Well, no, but we have to break it down. It's too much in one, right? So what is one practical change you want to see in how young people think about work?
It seems that the very thing that we're passionate about, it doesn't seem like it wildly changes. Maybe it wildly changes when you're 5 years old, then you're 6, then you're 7. But I don't know. It seems the older we all get, if we're interested in our passions, it becomes more accurate. We more accurately understand what our passion is from all this stuff we experience. And I think the answer is passion with work. Many people have said this. Steve Jobs has said this, for example. Like, if you're passionate about something, it's no one else can compete with you. For some reason, passion is the fuel of why you do what you do. Maybe the fuel is fear because you're afraid you're not going to pay your mortgage or something, right? Okay, maybe that's a fuel, but it's nothing compared to passion. It's something that you're super passionate about. You're just endlessly curious. You're just endlessly working on it. And then you pass out and you're past. So young people, they're often told by schools and such that you have to choose this thing and go to it. But then they hide the truth from you of, this really isn't that important that you go to this school. We're
supposed to tell you this. We're supposed to get you to college, actually. That's just the...
We've been conditioned by other people and investors. We've been conditioned to tell you this information, okay? We would tell you this other college, but the other college didn't fund our thing. So I think it's good for young people to know that they can always change their mind. They can always change. You can always change your future with just one choice. And if your choices are getting more and more aligned with your passions over time, you're probably not going to regret it at all. I got lucky with that. I got really lucky. I was in high school and about how I loved programming and stuff. And there was a point where I didn't program. I was quite frustrated with the people I was around, and I felt that's what programming was. And at one point I was like, screw it, I want to be a professional drummer. And I had fun. It was the least amount of money I ever made because I was a software developer quite early, but it just didn't matter. It didn't matter. It was super fun. I was learning a lot. Something was being nourished. It gave me a lot of meaning and this goal to go towards, and I loved it. And the things that I learned, I more than carry them with me today. They were insanely valuable. And you can't get that value by listening to other people who don't know your passion, who say, nah, don't be a drummer. Get a job that you're going to be in demand for. Yeah, do that. Pay this college. It's going to work out. It's not like you're going to run into debt that you can never pay. It's a good choice. Do it. No, screw that. Do what you're passionate about. What you learn as a professional drummer, you can't learn that at a college.
You can't even learn that at a professional college for drumming.
Correct. And I've known some drummers that have gone to Berkeley and they'd say the same thing. No, I learned more when Prince came to see me drum and then said, hey, you want to jam at my place in Chicago? And I was like, yeah, I guess that would be cool. And then later he's like, Prince!
What practical change do you want to see in how they think about responsibility? And on top of that, how do you feel about the word responsibility?
That's where I was going. Responsibility is quite a simple word, no matter what it means contextually. Responsibility is your ability to respond to something. And I had this epiphany about responsibility in high school when a teacher told the class, it is your responsibility to do your schoolwork. And I thought to myself, no, actually, it's her responsibility to be here because we're depending on her. It's really not my responsibility to do my schoolwork. Nobody's depending on me doing my schoolwork. Not even I am. And by the way, I never did my homework after that. This was like, I literally did none of my homework. And I literally did none of my schoolwork in my senior year after about 3 days of being a senior because of that. So it was the most influential, most inspiring thing a teacher ever said was, you're all responsible for doing your schoolwork. So yeah, responsibility, you're not responsible for shit in this world except for yourself, no matter how you put it.
So individual responsibility, personal responsibility?
Oh yeah, if you're depending on a surgeon to save your life, because maybe you had some health problems and stuff that you didn't address earlier, really, if the surgeon is truly responsible for your life, then they should also be able to say, oh, but never mind, he shouldn't be dead. Let's just revive him real quick. He's not dead. Never mind. Sorry about that. Just kidding. The things you're responsible for are truly, I could be wrong, but it just, for maybe 5 years, I don't know, it keeps pointing to this direction that the only thing you're really responsible for is what you create. If you pour a bunch of muriatic acid into the ocean, right? I mean, the ocean's huge. You're not going to find enough muriatic acid in the world to destroy the ocean. But you are responsible for that. You're the one who did that. You're the one who affected it, right? If you cuss someone out and they're sad about it, you're responsible for the fact that you cussed them out. You're not responsible for how they felt about it. Because so many people would feel different. Some people would be like, cool, cuss me out. Why do I care? You're a shrimp. Get out of here, Robert. So yeah, when it comes to responsibility, I feel quite strongly about that because I see that since I've had that epiphany. I had it while praying, really. I mean, yeah, there's a high school thing, but it shows up the same time over and over again. It shows up. There's no way any of us are responsible for someone else's choice. We might be responsible for influencing it, but ultimately we're not responsible for the fact that the thing happened that we didn't do. I think that's hard to understand, but the one who does the action, the transaction, is the one who did it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Where do people find you if you want to be found?
Yeah, Telegram. I do hang out at the Genius Crypto Telegram room. How I would get there is I would go to Telegram and type in the @ GENI crypto. I'm quite open to talking there often. I use that the most. It's a public room with almost 3,000 people in it. I do own that chat room, as in I started that chat room. And I do hang out there quite a bit and see what people say. So that's the best way. I have most of my attention on that compared to other things that are publicly accessible.
Thank you, Robert Genito, and freaking have the best time ever, dude. I can't wait to do this more.
I'm very much down, man. I'm down. I'd love to be asking you a lot of questions. You're genuinely curious, and that really shows. And people don't want to talk with people that aren't curious. I've talked with interviewers who are not curious, and it is so lame.
What's the point? What's the point, right? What the fuck would it? Yeah, it's bullshit.